Greetings, everyone. It's Crime Talk with Crin, and we are back with episode 28. I want to say welcome to all of my new subscribers. If this is your first time over here on my channel, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to my first 1,000 subscribers, and I am very, very close. So, if you want to help support my channel, if you like what's going on over here, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can be notified when I upload. I'm trying to get back to a more consistent schedule with uploading. With that being said, if you do hear any noise in the background, just disregard it. Part of the reason why the uploads are few and far between lately is just trying to find a quiet moment and a quiet space to record. And so I decided, instead of waiting for complete silence and alone time, I'm just going to go back to the drawing board like I did in the beginning, find the most quiet possible without complete silence. And listen, we all have lives. We all got stuff going on. I have a 3-year-old, so, disregard any sounds of joy, merriment, or terror that you may hear in the background. Anyway, we are going to jump right. Wait a minute. We can't jump right in just yet. I want to say a huge shout out. And welcome back to all of my day ones. Everybody that has been riding with me since I was thrown into this thing. So, again, welcome back. You guys are amazing. Absolutely amazing. And, seeing the comments saying that you guys, have been looking for me, or you miss me, or you're glad that I'm back, definitely motivates me to get back out here. So, enough of all of that. Thank you guys for holding it down. But we're just going to jump right in. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. You're going to see me a little bit, and that is because I put out a 4-part TikTok series in June of 2023, and that 4-part TikTok series was about whether or not Bryan Kohberger was being framed, in my opinion. And so the comments were crazy. There were people saying that, of course he's being framed. There's people like, oh no, he's guilty, girl, you better stop this. So it was a full range of the spectrum in the comment section. And I really want to know, if there are some of those people that are like, he's guilty, girl, this is weird. I want to know if those people have changed their mind yet. I really want to know. But anyway, so I'm not sure what's going on over on TikTok. Here today, going tomorrow, back like it never left. I don't know what's going on over there. But, if I find out something definitive, I might, pop over there to put out some little clips, so I can, stay present. But in the meantime, TikTok's really not my favorite place. So anyhow, I put out a 4-part TikTok series about whether or not I thought Bryan Kohberger was being framed. And so I'm going to show that for you today. And if you've seen it before, it's a refresher. If this is your first time seeing it, hey. But my mind has changed a little bit. So I'm going to show the TikToks to you guys here, and then I'll be back to talk about what's changed for me. This is my first time doing this. I'm going to try to be quick. Anybody that knows me knows that I can talk. Okay? So the timer in front of me is, anyway, follow me or subscribe or whatever the TikTok terminology is. There's going to be another part to this. So do whatever it is that you need to do so you can see the next part. Okay, so Bryan Kohberger, right? It seems like the world is split between he is absolutely 100% guilty and he's been framed. And the people who think that he's 100% guilty think that the people who think that he's been framed are smoking crack. That's basically like the whole gist of it. So I'm the type of person who likes to look at the big picture. I like to look at all sides of it, see what makes sense, right? And so if you go back to the beginning, you had all these names. It was Jake, it was Jake, it was Jack, and it was 16 kids. And, it's a college town, right? You got 16 kids. They all had the same name and they all hang out together, basically, is what we were seeing in the very beginning. And then all of a sudden, this dude, Bryan Kohberger, gets arrested. And everybody's like, who's that? And then the interviews keep coming out, and even the kids at the school have no idea who this Joker is, right? So, one thing I know for certain, I shouldn't say it for certain because literally I don't know a thing, but what happened at 1122 King Road was not random. It was not an accident. It was not, hey, this is a cool house. Let me come in here. This was planned, and people have said who was the target. How come the other roommates didn't end up like the other roommates? I think that this was planned out. I think that the 4 people who were unalived that day were intended to be unalived that day, and the 2 that weren't were not intended. But watch the next one. Okay, so we're going to get right back in. This is the second video. So if you didn't see the first one, like this video, subscribe or follow or whatever it is so you can see the first one and the next one, because there's definitely going to be more. So jumping right in, this is... we're talking about whether or not Bryan Kohberger was framed. And so I was watching somebody on YouTube who was talking about him getting arrested for stealing the phone like 9 years ago. And they said since then, all he's gotten was traffic stops. So soon as they said traffic stops, a light bulb went off, and I was like, ooh. So one night before seeing this video, I was talking to my sister, we're cracking jokes about Bryan Kohberger obviously can't drive, right? And we were saying this because of all the different details that had come out over, the last 6 months or 8 months. And so, I said, he gets pulled over every time he gets behind the wheel. So when I saw the YouTube video the other night and they were saying about him, in the traffic stops, I was like, oh, wow, maybe he was framed. Because I've heard like horror stories from people who used to date police officers, and they, they get pulled over all the time for a little stupid stuff, and other people on the police force harass them, or, people who have because they know the cop personally, and so now they have stupid little beef, and so, they get pulled over all the time. And so I was just thinking, what if there was already some kind of tension between him and the police, and that's why he gets pulled over all the time. And this video here, when he got pulled over for running a red light, and he was kind of snooty with the lady cop, and some people were like, oh, he's being combative, and it was like, maybe that's why he has an attitude, because he's like, what is it today, ma'am? Y'all pull me over every day. What is it today? Right? So maybe there was some kind of tension between Bryan Kohberger and the police already, and that's how we ended up here. So just follow, okay? There's going to be another part. It's hot in here and I'm trying to get through these. I keep messing up. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm trying. This is part 3. We're talking about whether or not Bryan Kohberger was framed. And so if you didn't see the first 2, follow, check those out. There's going to be one more. Anyway, so what I was saying was, we know that he applied to work with the police. Maybe he rubbed somebody the wrong way. They even said in the court documents that they got his phone number and were able to do the phone pings because he gave his phone number during one of the traffic stops. And I thought that was interesting because I've been pulled over a couple of times in my life and I've never had to give my phone number. I'm not on the West Coast. I didn't ask a bunch of people like, hey, do you give the cops your phone number when you get pulled over? So I don't know if this is like a thing or not, but I'm just saying I never gave the police my phone number. But I just thought that was interesting. Now, on the flip side, I just feel like if the police were trying to set him up, they would have at least planted some of the victims' DNA somewhere, not just his DNA at the scene, but even if it was just a Murphy hair in his car, in the trunk, in his apartment, in that random storage locker, at his parents' house, something. I feel like if he was being framed, there would have been a better way to do it other than a little bit of touch DNA on a knife sheath. We might talk about that another time. I'm not going to do that today. But, so it does seem far-fetched that he would be framed because who is this dude? But stranger things have happened. So do I think that he was framed? Not really. Set up? Maybe set up. Definitely not by the police. I'm just saying I could see why somebody would think that. All right, part 4, and this is the last one. If you have not seen 1 through 3, check them out. Follow. I will be doing other videos. I'm going to see how I feel about this. This is my first time doing something like this, and it's kind of cool. I had way too many takes. But anyway, that's not the point. So this is part 4. We're talking about whether or not Bryan Kohberger was framed. Again, I have no idea, but just sorting over the details. Again, in the last video, I was talking about, whether or not the police are doing it. Here's what I think. I don't think that he was set up by the police, but just the way that he gets pulled over all the time does seem very suspicious. But anyway, I could understand why people would think that, is basically what I'm saying. But what I think is that somebody gave him up. I think somebody else was involved. And I think that when they were conducting the interviews, I think that somebody gave him up. I also think that Bryan Kohberger knows that somebody gave him up. So later on, not today, not part 5, but, later on, once I get, some more details together, I'm going to talk about my theory. But right now, I'm just basically saying that I do think that he was involved. I don't think that he's, somebody pulled his name out of a hat. I do think that he was involved. And I think that there were other people involved. And I think that maybe to save their necks, somebody gave him up. And I think it's going to come out. I could be wrong. I think it's going to come out. But I do believe that somebody gave him up. And, yeah, that's it. And I think that that's why the case seems so strange, with the timeline shifting and the year of the car shifting, because I think that when the police were doing their investigation, it was leading one way. And I think that, someone else basically said, oh, yeah, no, this guy. And then they had to put the pieces together. And now they're doing all the genealogy and the cloak and dagger weirdness because they need to put him there because somebody told law enforcement that he was there. All right, so that was June of 2023. And so much has happened, so much has come out since then, and my thoughts have changed a little bit. When it comes to seeing officers on the stand and the way that they answer or evade answering questions seems odd. The whole FBI kick seems odd. And I know that the FBI, they pretty much have their own jurisdiction and they can almost, do whatever. They don't really, it doesn't seem like they answer to anyone. And there's like a whole separate process if you want to, call them to the carpet. So it does seem interesting. When Ann Taylor speaks about the SNP, the DNA profile, more than doubling in size from Othram to the FBI, that does seem suspicious. That does seem like something is going on here. What? I'm not sure, but that does seem a little bit more than suspicious because if this is touch DNA, this is trace DNA, this is, just barely there. And so for a just barely there DNA sample to more than double in size, it does seem suspect. So I know in the TikTok I said that, I thought that certain things were going to come out. I think we are going to be down to the wire, and this FBI business is not going to come out. I think that they are willing to risk it all. I do think that the FBI, and I know that, people get up in arms and they, get all weird when you mention that, substances might have played a part in this. And I think that the FBI was running an investigation. And I think that the massacre on King Road has crossed over into their territory, which is why I think they were already around. That's why I think that the police activity that night was so heavy. I think that when they released the body cam footage from the Banfield, I think that was done intentionally to try to justify why there was so much police activity. I think that, the people that were around were going to mention it. And, it does seem odd. It does seem odd that there was so much police activity right around the house. Not like a town over, right outside. You could see the house in some of the body cam footage. And so for there to be so much police activity at the same time as a quadruple homicide, it just seems like far-fetched. Like, come on. Like, we're the biggest coincidence in like a decade. Like, let's be for real. So, but I do think that the FBI was running an investigation in the area. I think that the massacre on King Road has, happened and has crossed over into the FBI's investigation that they were already doing. And I think that that's why the FBI came in and took over, because the local and state police were starting to trample on their investigation. I think that the FBI believes that their investigation takes precedence, and so therefore to, as they like to say, maintain the integrity of their investigation, they're not willing to give anything up to the local and state police. And now we have, preliminary hearings leading into a capital murder case, and they're still like, listen, that's none of my business. Y'all are on your own. This don't have nothing to do with me. I think that that's where the FBI is at with this, and it's going to take a literal act of Congress for them to turn over anything. And when it comes down to turning over stuff, they already said they don't have any notes. They didn't document anything. So now it's like, look, I'll turn over what we have, but joke's on you, we don't have anything. So unless you're going to peel open my brain and ransack my memory bank, you're not getting anything out of me. And I think that's how it's going to go. I think that the prosecution is up against the wall. I think that they are in a very bad position because they had no idea who Bryan Kohberger was. He wasn't on the radar at all until like a day and a half before he was arrested. So now the FBI is like, now supposedly, allegedly, the FBI is the confidential informant who told them, like, hey, Bryan Kohberger. And that's what I said in June of 2023, that the investigation was leading this way, and somebody gave him up, which were, allegedly it was the FBI. And so they said, they did their genealogy mess, and they called in the tip and was like, you're Bryan Kohberger. Boom. That's all I got. And so now everybody's on Bryan Kohberger's neck. And I think that the prosecution is up against the wall because they don't have diddly squat to actually prove that it was him. They have nothing to prove that it was him. And so I keep going back and forth about my thoughts on Ann Taylor because she seems suspect too. I put out a video in the beginning. People didn't like it, but I was like, she seems to be playing both sides of the fence. So now that Judge is out and Judge Hippler's in, she seems to be making more bold moves. But then when the spotlight is on her, it's like, oh, wait, I didn't expect to be arguing with you. I expected to be arguing with them. And it's like, it doesn't matter who you thought you were arguing with. What's the answer, ma'am? And so I think the main issue here is that the DNA profile doubled in size. I think the main issue here is that there was nothing to lead to Bryan Kohberger until this magic trick of DNA IgG mess. We know that there was breaking the chain of custody. We know that that they don't have anything. We know that there's no connection. We know that there was no DNA in the car. Even Judge Hippler, mentioning somebody taking their clothes off and putting it in a bag. We're talking about body fluids. We're talking about real, live, strong, unquestionable DNA. If you are slanging and unaliving 4 people on 2 floors in a matter of seconds, he could have had, anything anywhere. That even if he took his clothes off and put them in a bag, something could have gotten on him from the clothes, between taking the clothes off, putting them in the bag, and then putting on new clothes. But when you talk about him taking his clothes off and putting them in a bag, you're still chopping at this already small timeline. But anyway, I don't want to get too far off. My point is, where did they get his name from? The FBI is saying that, it's being alleged that the FBI, they're above board. They do this DNA test. They come up with a profile. But it still doesn't make sense to me, because it's like, where did you get his name from? I said in the TikTok that I did not believe that they just pulled his name out of a hat. But it's like, where did you get his name from? I was thinking like a co-defendant, co-conspirator type of person gave him up. But I'm like... And then to find out that Dylan said that when shown a picture of him, that his bone structure didn't match and all this. And that's why I said back in June of 2023, I'm like, they were like, yo, who is this dude? Nobody knew who he was. He wasn't familiar to anybody involved in this case. And I said, I did not think that it was somebody just driving around and was like, oh, this house looks cool. Let me go in here and see who's up and take them out. I don't think that that's what happened. But I will say that now, February 2025, I do believe that he's being framed. I do believe that he was being framed. In June of 23, I said I didn't think he was being framed. I thought that he was being set up. And when I said set up, I was thinking of somebody who was involved, like a co-conspirator, another student somewhere, that there was some kind of connection between the person who actually did it and Bryan Kohberger. When I go back and look at the TikToks and, talk about the way that he was pulled over, that has been a question. There is a traffic stop that they still won't release the body cam footage of, that was well before this, the Idaho 4. And I'm wondering why they won't release it. Why did you release the body cam footage from the band field the night of the massacre, but you won't release a body cam footage from, I think it was like August, before this even happened, when he first got to Washington or the Idaho area. So that seems suspicious. So when I said that, it was odd and maybe that there was already some tension between him and law enforcement, I think that the body cam footage that they won't release shows whatever the tension is between them and law enforcement. And I think that is why they won't release it, because it's going to give a little bit of insight that that we need to connect some kind of dot. It has to be relevant. We saw the other body cam footage of the traffic stops, so why not that one that happened before the ones that we got? So, I do think that there is some law enforcement funny business, but it doesn't seem like it's local and state. It does seem to be on the federal level, and I think that the local and the state are the ones left to carry the bag. They're the ones left to deal with it, and that's unfortunate. It sucks for them because they get in court and they look like it's their first day on the job, and that really is unfortunate. It's most majorly unfortunate if Bryan Kohberger actually did it. If Bryan Kohberger actually did it and they are left to scramble and prove something with no proof, and then he gets off because this is crap, that's really going to suck. It's really, really going to suck. I think that Ann Taylor has everything that she needs, and I don't think that she's prioritizing her strategy well. I think that she's spending a lot of time focusing on things that don't matter. I don't know if she's trying to buy time or what, but when she got there and was like, oh, I thought we were doing, and it's like, ma'am, it's 2 years later. You should be ready to do anything. I didn't think we were talking about that today. I thought we were, like, come on. she looks like she's scrambling. The prosecution looks like they're scrambling. I do think that there's a case to be made. I do think there's a case to be made. And I think that they're all doing a piss poor job of making their case. I think that Judge Hippler did a phenomenal job actually asking the good questions. I thought it was weird that he was the one asking the questions, but at the same time, he was handed a hot mess. And so he's trying to get down to the nitty gritty of it. Like, okay, come on, y'all. Like, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? I think he was doing a very good job at being fair. Because he had heat for both sides. And I'm hoping that we get somewhere. I am hoping that we get somewhere. It is a mess. It is a mess, but the further we get and the more information that comes out, it does seem like that the conspiracy is on law enforcement. It does seem like somebody put his name out there, and they don't want to tell who or how. And that sucks. But let me know what you think. I'm not going to keep you guys here too much longer. Let me know your thoughts. The comments on my last video were amazing. I really do enjoy chatting with you guys in the comment section. So please let me know your thoughts. Let me know how your thoughts have changed, if they have changed from the beginning to now. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Like I said, I'm very close to get my first 1,000 subscribers. So please help me out. Share the video, like the video, leave me a comment, and I will be back soon. I do want to talk more about the roommates, and I also want to talk about the unidentified male DNA, which I might get at that one next, because, you know, that has been a bee in my bonnet for quite some time. So anyway, thanks again for watching, and that's all I got.